What to do if you're mugged? Comply, distract, or fight? Someone grabs your phone. What do you do in the next 5 seconds? Do you comply? Do you fight? Or do you run? I'm Steve Mazzagatti, retired New Jersey State Trooper, former paramedic, firearms instructor, and author of Defend Confidently. Today, a practical mugging response drill you can train safely at home. If you saw my Jugging 2.0 breakdown recently posted on Martell Training Group, you know how these ambushes are evolving. The drill is not about bravado. It's about realistic choices, minimizing harm, and giving you options. Let's get into it. I'm all for protecting yourself and your loved ones when necessary. I believe everyone has that right. However, that doesn't mean physical fighting is always the best choice. It depends on your training and background, the events that are unfolding in front of you, and of course, who is with you. Are you by yourself or are you with your kids? If you have your kids with you, you may make different choices because of their presence. Of course, I would do anything to protect my kids. One last thing before we get into it, folks. Laws vary by state and jurisdiction. This video teaches safety tactics and mindset, not legal advice. Every situation is different and there is no one-size-fits-all answer. How you respond should be based on your training and abilities, the laws where you are, and the events unfolding in front of you. For example, the number of attackers, whether children are present, or if an assailant has a weapon. You'll need to make the best decision you can in that moment. Prevention is your first line of defense. Choose well-lit, populated routes. Park where you can see people and cameras, walk with a purpose, keep headphones low or out, have keys ready in your hand as you approach your car. Whenever possible, choose to walk with someone like a friend or security guard as an escort. Small habits reduce targeting, but they don't eliminate risk. Here are 4 response options. We're going to cover these 4 options you can practice safely. Comply and de-escalate. Diversion and run, using tools to create an escape, and defensive engagement. As a reminder, every situation is different. Respond based on your abilities, local law, and what you see. Comply and de-escalate. When the attacker's threat level is high, a firearm pointed at you, multiple attackers, or your children are with you, for example, compliance may be the safest choice. Keep your hands visible, move slowly, obey commands, and speak calmly. For example, okay, I'm giving it to you, no need to hurt anyone. Avoid sudden movements. Remember that property is replaceable. Your life and the lives with you are not. Diversion and run. This applies when the threat seems or appears to be opportunistic. An opportunistic threat is when the attacker's primary goal is to steal property quickly, your phone, your wallet, your bag, rather than harm you. Typical signs of an opportunistic threat are a grab-and-go approach, there's no weapon trained on you that you can see, there's a quick verbal demand, it usually occurs in low visibility, public spots like parking lots or transit stops, and the victim appears distracted or alone. In these situations, a diversion can create a critical window to escape. You can keep a cheap decoy, an old phone, an expired credit card, or a fake wallet in an easily accessible pocket. You toss it in one direction so it looks real, and then you run the other way towards people, cameras, or a safe store. Practice the toss underhanded so it appears natural, then break cover and sprint to safety. An important caveat here, folks, do not use this if the attacker has a weapon pointed at you or they escalate violently. If that happens, compliance may be the safer choice. Using tools to create escape. This includes having a small flashlight with a strobe function, pepper spray or gel, or something like a taser. Tools can buy you a chance to get away. 2 practical options are a high lumen flashlight with a strobe function and pepper spray or pepper gel. A short strobe burst, especially at night, right in the eyes of the attacker can disorient or slow the attacker's visual processing long enough for you to get away. Pepper spray can incapacitate at short range. You would aim for the face and immediately exit the area. Tasers are situational and of course require some training. Practice activation and deployment so it's muscle memory. No tool limits. Pepper spray is affected by the wind and distance. So if you're too far away or if you spray it into the wind, it could come back onto you and affect you. The strobe function on a flashlight is most effective at night or in low light situations at close quarters. Tasers have range limits and can fail. Of course, the batteries can die and you need some training. Now we get into the defensive engagement and lethal force. What we're talking about is physically defending yourself using self-defense. Obviously, somebody puts hands on you, somebody touches you, somebody grabs you, somebody tries to assault you. You can and should absolutely defend yourself. Now, depending on your background and your training, your experience, it could be something as simple as putting up a hand and saying stop as you move along the street. It might require more than that if they're physically attacking you. Somebody might be trying to test you to see how much they can get away with. Could be a homeless person asking for money. Maybe they grab you as you're walking by. Could be any number of things. In our online course, we go into different scenarios and why a little bit of basic self-defense training can go a long way. You learn one or two signature moves that you can perfect, and they may be able to stop or help you respond to an attack. So we're talking about anything from verbal de-escalation and basic self-defense moves all the way up to lethal force, which of course can happen in a split second. So if you reasonably believe that an attacker will harm you or someone with you, for example a child, regardless of compliance, you may have no choice but to defend yourself. If you carry concealed, this is where your knowledge of lethal force and use of force in general is necessary. Of course, lethal force is a last resort option. It's only appropriate when the threat is imminent and serious, there is no avenue or retreat, or you can't de-escalate, and you are prepared through training and legal understanding to use force if necessary. Now, I understand that some states do have stand your ground laws, meaning you don't have to retreat in order to defend yourself, but there are stipulations, and of course, understanding use of force, especially lethal force, does not mean that you can just go right to lethal force, even if you're in a state that has a stand your ground law. You have to understand the levels of force and when it's appropriate to use lethal force. If you carry, train honestly for failure drills. If you don't carry, know how to create separation, shield children, and when escalation is unavoidable. If you carry concealed, it's even more important, in my opinion, to have some basic self-defense training and also some training on weapon retention, because a situation can easily start out as a simple assault situation, meaning somebody grabs you, goes to touch you, comes up into your space. It's not necessarily a lethal force situation at that moment, but you know you're carrying concealed. You know there's at least one gun involved in every confrontation that you're involved in because you're carrying concealed. The bad guy could have a gun as well, but you know there's at least one gun, your gun. You have to be able to retain that gun. So if it starts off as a simple assault, or not even, but somebody maybe is getting in your space or about to, you need to have some training to not only keep that weapon on you and away from the bad guy, but be able to fight or do some basic self-defense moves to get them away or let them know you're not going to be a victim. You're not going to be an easy victim. You are going to fight back. Whether it's just putting that hand up, pushing them away, getting in that position ready to draw your concealed carry if you see a knife or a gun or something else that indicates lethal force, like a club or a bat, for example. Remember, it depends on the situation and it depends on what's the events that are unfolding around you. So for example, one person approaches you asking you for money, they're getting a little close, they're getting in your space. That is not a situation where you can go right to pulling out your gun and saying, get away from me. Now, 5 guys surround you, different story. You're 120 pounds and you're walking back to your car and you get approached by somebody who's 6'5", 250 pounds. You know, that's a situation where you're not going to be expected to fight that person physically first. So every situation is different. If it's a situation that does not start off as lethal force, maybe a homeless person approaches you and says, hey, do you have any money? And they're getting too close to you. You put up a hand, you say, stop, don't come any closer, or I can't help you today. Whatever phrase or response you have in your head, because you should be thinking about these situations and these scenarios. No, I'm sorry, I can't help you today, as you continue to walk. Now, if they continue to approach, if they reach and it looks like they're reaching for a weapon of some sort and you're carrying concealed, that would be your time when you would get ready to go for your concealed carry. So these situations and scenarios are things that you should be thinking about and you should actually be training for with a qualified instructor. If you're considering defensive engagement or training to be prepared for defensive engagement, remember 3 points. Number 1, train first. Realistic scenario-based training with qualified instructors. My recommendation would be to get self-defense training, learn 1 or 2 signature moves. They can be very basic that you can perfect and use, and then you can move on from there and learn other techniques. Some situations can be resolved with basic self-defense if you're trained. Obviously, if it's a lethal force situation, you can go right to lethal force to defend yourself. Which brings us to number 2, be proportional. Your response should match the threat. Somebody slaps or punches you in a simple assault type situation, can't just draw your gun and shoot them. And finally, number 3, be ready for the aftermath. Call police immediately and seek medical attention. Other than telling the police you had to defend yourself or you thought your life was in danger, I would not give any statements to the police without an attorney present. Now let's be realistic if you conceal carry. So you're carrying concealed, obviously your gun is not exposed. You're walking along a street with your family, maybe you're by yourself, maybe you're with your kids. You get confronted whether you're not paying attention and not situationally aware. Someone is right in your space holding a gun or a knife on you, demanding your phone, your bag that you're carrying, your wallet, whatever it might be. Maybe you were situationally aware, maybe it's just a crowded street and you couldn't see it coming. Whatever the case, you're now in this situation. So you have a gun trained on you and you're carrying concealed. So obviously the first thought is this is a lethal force situation. I'm authorized to use my gun. The question is, are you going to be able to expose your gun, get a good grip on your gun, draw it from the holster, point it at your assailant, and pull the trigger before your assailant squeezes the trigger? Chances are no, unless you're Wyatt Earp, and even then I would question it. If you already have a gun trained on you and the bad guys got their finger on the trigger, because most bad guys don't exercise good trigger discipline, all they have to do is squeeze that trigger and you have to go through all these moves. Even if you can do it in less than 2 seconds, I guarantee you most people can squeeze a trigger in less than that time. A drill that we used to practice in the state police during our biannual shoot was defensive hip shooting, hip retention shooting. So we would get at the 1 yard line and we would simulate we were maybe talking to someone or we were that close to someone within about 3 feet. And we would put our non-shooting hand up as a defensive move. And then our shooting hand at the signal, we would actually draw and shoot from the hip. So you'd have to grip your gun, take it out of the holster, and shoot from the hip. And with an exposed firearm, most shooters could do that in under 2 seconds. So think about that. Your non-shooting hand is up in defense. So simulating somebody maybe has a knife and they're coming over top to get you with the knife. You're going to step back or step to the side. You're going to put your defensive or non-shooting hand up and you're going to draw your gun and shoot it twice from the hip and hit the target. And this is something that most shooters could do in under 2 seconds. So that is, again, an exposed firearm in uniform with a level 3 or higher retention holster. So think about what you would have to do as a concealed carry person. You'd have to not only expose your gun with one hand, you would have to find your gun, which you should be able to easily find it, grab onto it, get a good grip, draw it from the holster, rotate it towards your assailant, shoot your assailant without shooting yourself, because assuming that you're doing all this quickly, and get off the shot before your assailant or attacker squeezes the trigger once. In most cases, that will never happen. You will never be able to do that. It's just the reality of it, folks. We're talking about this in the video so you can think about these scenarios in your head. You may be really fast at the range, drawing from the hip with one hand and shooting and getting on target, but you're not faster than someone squeezing a trigger. At some point during the encounter, you may have the opportunity to draw and either train your gun on your attacker or shoot in defense of your attacker. But in most cases, you're not going to have that opportunity before they squeeze the trigger. Here's your quick checklist. Number 1, prevention habits. Lighting, parking, walking with a purpose. Number 2, if life is at risk, typically complying is your best option. Number 3, if opportunistic, usually decoy and run, may buy some time. Number 4, tools can create escape windows. Train with them first. And number 5, defensive engagement, typically as a last resort. Train and know your use of force laws. There's no single right answer for every encounter. Use your training, follow the law, and decide what's safest in the moment. Practice these drills safely with a training partner in a controlled environment. For the real incident that inspired this drill, watch Jugging 2.0 on Martell Training Group. The link is in the description, folks. For much deeper skill work, my online course, Elevate Situational Awareness, Mastering Personal Safety and Concealed Carry, and my book, Defend Confidently, cover the drills and mindset in more depth. The links are below. Subscribe to Defend Confidently for more drills and turn on notifications. Stay safe and see you in the next video.